Welcome to Norway Perspectives, brought to you by Norway Relocation Group. Today we're diving deep into one of the most exciting and nerve-wracking moments in any newcomer's journey, starting a job in Norway. Whether you've just moved here with a signed offer, or you've pounded the pavement to find work after arrival, receiving that employment contract can feel like the ultimate victory. You've made it. You have a Norwegian job. And in many ways that feeling is completely justified. But what happens in the days and weeks after you sign? This is where the real integration begins, and it's where many newcomers stumble. The assumption is that once the ink is dry, your employer will handle the rest. But in Norway, a country built on digital systems and individual responsibility, this assumption can lead to serious problems. Starting a job here comes with a unique set of responsibilities, legal risks, and system expectations that are incredibly easy to overlook, and financially and professionally costly to ignore. In this episode, we'll take a comprehensive look at the unspoken rules of Norwegian employment. We will cover why the phrase "my employer will handle it" is a dangerous myth in Norway, the critical details in a Norwegian work contract that most newcomers misunderstand, from trial periods to notice periods, what happens when your employer doesn't register you properly, and how it can affect your access to social benefits. A deep dive into the digital tools that run your life here, Altinn, Skattetaten, and Digipost, and why they matter from day one. The tax card nightmare, what goes wrong when you don't check it, and how to avoid a massive tax bill. The intricate rules around sick leave and holiday pay that can lead to tension with your manager or a sudden loss of income. And finally, why failing to learn Norwegian, even in an English-speaking office, will eventually limit your career, your independence, and even your legal options. If you're about to start working in Norway, or you've already begun but feel like you're navigating in the dark, this episode is your guide. Let's begin with the foundational misunderstanding: the belief that your employer manages everything for you. In many countries, the HR department acts as a comprehensive administrator for your life as an employee. They handle tax issues, register you for all benefits, and manage all communication with public authorities. In Norway, the system operates on a different philosophy: partnership and personal responsibility. Here, your employer has specific duties, like reporting your income to Skattetaten, the Norwegian tax authority, and paying into your pension. But you, the employee, are an equal partner in this process and are legally responsible for obtaining and checking your own tax card, or skattekort, to ensure the correct tax is deducted, reviewing, understanding, and keeping a copy of your employment contract, submitting your own annual tax return. The system pre-fills it, but you must verify it's correct. Tracking your own pension contributions through portals like Norsk Pension. Correctly documenting and reporting sick leave according to a strict timeline. And most critically, ensuring your digital mailboxes, Digipost or e-box, are active and checked weekly, as this is where all official government communication will be sent. The Norwegian system does not send follow-up reminders or make phone calls. It assumes that because you have a bank ID and a Norwegian ID number, you are fully capable and expected to manage your own digital and civic affairs. This creates a dangerous blind spot for newcomers accustomed to more hands-on HR support. This brings us to the employment contract itself. Let's look at what happens when you misunderstand this crucial document. Employment contracts in Norway are highly regulated by the Work Environment Act, or Arbeidsmiljøloven. Most employers follow the law, but the language used is often formal, legalistic, and difficult to parse, even for native speakers. If you sign a contract without fully understanding these key terms, you are setting yourself up for future trouble. Permanent versus temporary, fast versus midlertidig. Do you have a permanent position, which offers significant job security, or a temporary one? A temporary contract can only be used under specific circumstances and for a limited time. We've seen newcomers who believed they had a long-term job, only to be told their 6-month contract would not be renewed, leaving them scrambling. The trial period, prøvetid. Most contracts include a trial period, typically up to 6 months. During this time, the notice period is drastically shorter, often just 14 days. This is a two-way street for you and the employer to assess the fit, but it means your job security is much lower in the beginning. The notice period, oppsigelsestid. After the trial period, your notice period is typically 1 to 3 months. This is a legal protection for both you and your employer. Unlike in at-will employment systems, your employer cannot fire you on the spot without cause. Guaranteed hours. Does your contract guarantee a full-time position, 100% stilling, or are your hours variable? Some contracts, especially in retail and hospitality, offer zero-hour terms, meaning you have no guaranteed income. A classic misunderstanding we see constantly is around holiday pay, or feriepenger. Newcomers assume their vacation is paid as part of their regular salary. They are then shocked to discover that it is calculated and paid out separately, and that their summer income may suddenly disappear if they haven't planned for it. We'll cover that in more detail shortly. Now let's tackle another major trap: not checking your tax card. When you start working in Norway, your employer requests a tax card for you digitally via Skatteetaten. This card tells your employer how much tax to deduct from your salary. Here's the catch: the tax card is based on an estimate of your annual income. If that estimate is wrong, your taxes will be wrong. If you underestimate your earnings, for example, you get a raise or work a lot of overtime, you won't pay enough tax each month. The result? You could receive a large, unexpected tax bill, a baksmell, the following year for tens of thousands of kroner. If you overestimate your income, you will overpay tax all year, essentially giving the government an interest-free loan that you won't get back until the tax settlement the following summer. Many newcomers never even log into Skatteetaten to look at their tax card. They assume the initial number is correct and final. You are legally responsible for reviewing and updating this information. The system assumes you've read every document sent to you, even if you never opened your Altinn inbox. Let's talk about sick leave, another area where cultural and procedural misunderstandings lead to tension and financial stress. In Norway, employees have generous rights to sick leave with full pay, but only if you follow the rules precisely. To qualify, you must have worked for your employer for at least 4 weeks to be eligible for paid sick leave from them. Report your illness to your employer on the very first day of absence, following their specific procedure. Submit the correct documentation. For short absences up to 3 days, you might be able to use a self-declaration, or egen melding. However, you are only entitled to use egen melding after working for 2 months, and you only get a limited number per year. For any illness longer than that, you need a doctor's note, a sick melding. This is now digital. Your doctor sends it to NAV, and you must log into the system to forward it to your employer. If you miss these steps, if you stay home for a week and only then go to the doctor, or if you use a self-declaration in your first month, your employer has the right to deny sick pay. Worse, failing to report your absence correctly can be seen as a breach of trust and can put your job at risk. Next up is the topic that causes the most financial confusion: holiday pay or feriepenger. Norwegian law guarantees you at least 25 days of holiday time, but it does not guarantee you a salary during that time. Instead, the system is built on feriepenger, or holiday money. Think of it like a mandatory savings account. Throughout the year, your employer sets aside a percentage of your gross income. The legal minimum is 10.2%, but 12% is common for those with 5 weeks of vacation. This accumulated amount is then paid out to you in a lump sum the following summer, usually in June, to cover your vacation period. This means, if you start a job in January 2025, you earn holiday pay throughout that year. You won't receive this money until June 2026. If you decide to take a vacation in the summer of 2025, your first year, those days will likely be unpaid because you haven't yet received your pot of holiday money. Many employers have a system where they don't pay out regular salary in June. Instead, you receive your large feriepenger payment, and that's meant to cover your expenses during your summer holiday. If you don't understand this, you may have a cash flow crisis in July. Another crucial area is working hours and flexibility. The Norwegian Work Environment Act strictly defines normal working hours, generally 9 hours per day and 40 hours per week. Collective agreements often reduce this to 37.5 hours per week. Overtime, overtid. Any work beyond normal hours must be compensated with at least a 40% pay supplement. Breaks and rest periods. The law mandates requirements for breaks and time off between shifts. Unfortunately, some sectors, like service, cleaning, construction, and hospitality, are more prone to exploiting workers who don't know their rights. Some newcomers are asked to work long hours without overtime pay, or to be constantly on call without compensation. If your contract is vague or you don't know the law, you are far more likely to be taken advantage of. This is where knowing about unions, or fagforeninger, is critical. Joining a union is common and gives you access to legal support and collective agreements that often provide far better protections than the legal minimum. Now let's address the elephant in the room: language. Why isn't English enough? You might be hired for a job where English is the official working language. This is common in tech, energy, and academia. But even in these roles, Norwegian remains the default language of the society around you, and therefore, of your life as an employee. It's the language of safety training materials and emergency procedures, your tax return and official letters from Skattetaten, union agreements and HR policies, your digital sick leave forms on the NAV website, the informal lunch conversations and Friday coffees where workplace culture is built and trust is formed. If you cannot read or speak Norwegian, you will always be dependent on colleagues or a translator. Over time, this dependency limits your autonomy and your career advancement. We've seen highly skilled professionals remain in the same position for years, not because they lacked competence, but because they never learned the language needed to fully participate, lead, and integrate into the Norwegian workplace. Finally, let's bring this all together and talk about what happens when things go wrong. Imagine this scenario. It's November. You started your dream job in Norway in January, but you signed the contract without asking about the 14-day notice period during your probation. You never checked your tax card, so your tax rate was based on a wild guess. You took a 3-week holiday in July, expecting full pay, and were shocked to receive almost nothing, forcing you to use your savings. You got sick in October but failed to submit the digital psych melding correctly, so you weren't paid. You received 3 official-looking messages in your Altinn inbox, but you ignored them because they were in Norwegian. Now your employer is frustrated with what they see as carelessness. Skattetaten has sent you a formal notice stating you owe 9,000 kroner in back taxes. You feel overwhelmed, isolated, and unsure who to ask for help. This is a scenario we see all the time, not because people are lazy or irresponsible, but because they simply weren't told how the Norwegian system works. It expects you to be proactive, to ask, to learn, and to act. If you don't, the system moves forward without you, and the consequences are yours to bear. So what can you do? Start with the basics. Review your contract line by line, and if you don't understand something, ask. Log into Skattetaten and Altinn today and see what's there. Set a recurring reminder in your calendar to check your digital inbox every single week. Learn exactly how holiday pay and sick leave work at your specific company. And most importantly, don't wait until a mistake costs you time, money, or your job. In the final section, we want to explain how you can get professional help. At Norway Relocation Group, we specialize in bridging this knowledge gap. We support newcomers with expert services like employment contract reviews, where we explain the legal and practical implications of every clause. We offer guided assistance with tax registration and help you build an integration plan so you don't have to figure it all out alone. And at our sister company, NLS Norwegian Language School, we teach Norwegian not just for passing tests, but for real life. Our courses are built to help you navigate contracts, workplace communication, HR messages, and tax season. We teach you the language you need to read, respond, and speak with confidence at work and beyond. The Norwegian system can seem intimidating, but it's not designed to punish you. It's designed for efficiency and trust. Once you learn the rules, you can make them work for you. Thanks for listening to Norway Perspectives. If this episode helped you, or if you know someone about to start a job in Norway, please share it with them. A little knowledge can make all the difference. We'll see you in the next episode.